Okay, Luxembourg. So I rode from Belgium into Luxembourg. I noticed that Luxembourg was like all clear cut. I look over in every direction, and there's like huge patches of clear cut, just totally flat. And then they'd have like a patch of trees, and then clear cut, and it was kind of hilly, but it was kind of like oh, these people just destroyed their country. And and then I went into Luxembourg's capital city, which actually is really beautiful. I rode in, there was some guy like on a road bike, and I was drafting off him going really fast. And by that time, I was starting to get really strong, which was cool. It's awesome to be really strong. That's one of the best things about bike touring is you get really strong. So I was like drafting off of him, and then I rode up some hill, and I saw some huge bridge that just spans across some huge like cavernous ravine as I go up the hill. And I guess town center was like on top of a hill, maybe next to like the central capital town was like their castle on the top of the town. Um, and then I went in like some pedestrian mall that was kind of like where that bridge like went bridged. And yeah, you have to pay for the bathrooms though. That's like, I think that's maybe where I first noticed that. You have to pay to go to the bathroom in Europe. It's kind of sucks. Yeah, those Luxembourgians though, they were kind of grumpy. They didn't seem like they were having a whole lot of fun. And then I went outside of that town and I camped out in some like forest. And I think it was like a brand newly planted forest or something, because I think, yeah, all the trees were like, they were big, but they're all in like rows, and between the trees it was totally flat. So that was cool, because in England when I was camping, and I'd have to deal with like thorns. There's tons of thorns in England. So I'd have to like duck in and like go under, like wiggle like a worm underneath in some like, what do you call it, ditch to sleep, and be careful about the thorns. So that was cool to be in that little area. And then I went into France the next day, and I was excited to go into France initially because I took French in college, and I thought for one semester, and I thought the French were like cool and stuff. But I went into some town, and like I was like tired one day, and I only rode 17 miles, so I just decided to. And it was like the first day of not riding all day long, so I decided to just like. I got a coffee and I put my foot up outside, and some like guys like, oh no, don't put your foot up on the chair, which I thought was kind of weird. And then he's like, you buy another coffee, and after like a half hour being there, and I was like, but I just got one. He's like, you have to get another one. I was like, okay, so I think I left. And then I rode down, and I was like going up hills, and it was pretty. And I remember at one point I got like an outside burrito, like hot dog, and one night I slept like under a bridge in France. But I was riding along France, and just riding all day long. But one thing until I got to Paris, and one night I slept like right on the highway, like between like where the exit is, and the grass between where the exit is, and like an overpass on another highway, where cars could see me, but I guess they'd have to look over to see me. So like when you camp out, sometimes you can camp out in broad sight and get away with it because people aren't going to be looking over, because even though if they look and they see you, but they don't look over. So one kind of interesting thing I noticed about France, like I'd go into like a bar once, and like some kid, he kissed his son on the lips. That was kind of interesting. They're like really touchy-feely there. And that was in another bar, and some guy came in the bar, and he shook everybody's hand in the bar, including mine. So it was kind of interesting. And kind of like they know everybody, and they just have to, I don't know. That's kind of cool, friendly. And but I kind of got a kind of a weird vibe off of like those rural people. Like as soon as I open their mouth, they do this mouth thing, like this. So it kind of made me a little bit paranoid. Then I went into Paris, and I was trying to ride my bike into Paris, but there was no way to get into Paris. It was just highways. And I'm riding down Paris, and the highway, and some cop is like, "Oh, you can't do this." So he actually escorted me. He drove in front of me, and to some exit. And he said, "Okay, get off here and go to the go over to ride in, I guess, the subway." And so I kept asking all these people, I'm like, "How do I get into the center of Paris?" And they're like, "Oh, just take the subway." And after enough people were like, "Yeah, take the subway," I was like, "Okay, yeah, why don't I just take the subway?" Originally, I didn't want to because it would cost money, but then I was like, "Why not?" So I just brought my bike in and put it on the subway, which is awesome. I think most countries, Korea, they let you do that, but like in Chile, they'll freak. They won't let you bring your bike in the subway. I've done it like once, but so that was really cool. But it was the only way to get my bike in there. So I got my bike in, and then I locked it there, and I did the Champs-Élysées Tower thing. And then I did the Eiffel Tower, which took like 3.5 hours to get up to the top of it. It's total tourist trap, but I'm glad I did it because I wanted to have that experience, I guess, like everybody else there. And then I took the photos of it. Paris is a pretty town, just lots of whitewashed colored buildings everywhere. And I looked north and I saw some building that looked like this. That was interesting. I didn't go into that part of downtown though. And I went into some McDonald's right there on the Champs-Élysées, which is like the biggest McDonald's I've ever seen in my life. It was like 2 stories, huge. And it had like 7 different lines that were like 30 feet long each. People, has lots of business there. But it seemed like a cool place. I was only there one night though. Maybe I'll go back and check out the Louvre and all that stuff. So that night I got on the Paris, on the train, and I saw like they have like a little bunny rabbit, as like the person to show you not to put your hand in the door and stuff. I thought that was kind of cute. We don't have bunny rabbits representing people in America. But I took the train all the way down to the very last stop on the south, got off it, and by then I was pretty much out of the town. Like they have a really great metro system there. And I rode my bike up a hill, and I just rode up off the side of the road, and I slept on some hill. It was cool. I should have hung out in Paris for a week because I could have been camping out the whole time by just taking the subway out of town. But I got on my bike and I rode down south through these towns, and the whole part of like from Luxembourg to Paris to Spain, the whole time was just flat. France is flat like Kansas. I didn't see any mountains. It's crazy, totally flat, not one hill. It was crazy. But I rode through, and I saw a couple of those bullet trains go by. That was kind of a culture shock because they don't go that fast in America. They're going like 150 miles an hour. So I rode down south, and I'd see some like little towns, which was kind of cute. Little buildings. And one thing I was noticing about Europe is there's like grass that grows out of the buildings because in Colorado, we don't have buildings that are old enough that actually have grass and trees growing out of them. That was interesting. And so I rode down the roads, and I was starting to get pretty strong by then. I think I was going like 140 miles a day. And I was eating at McDonald's the whole time, though, every single night, because there are lots of McDonald's in France. And so whenever I saw McDonald's, I go there and I get 2 Happy Meals. I get 2 number ones. And that's what I'd have for dinner. And it was delicious. Get me going. And I'd like go in the bathroom and I'd take off my spandex suit. I don't know, that's what I would sleep in. I'd just I guess get toilet paper, or I think I had a rag and some soap, and I would just like wipe myself down on my arms and my legs, and that was in like my armpit, and that was it. That was the shower I'd have for a whole week. That was what I was doing for keep myself clean. And so yeah, I just sleep in the trees, just like in England. And France has lots of camping. I mean, lots of thorns too, thorn problems. We don't have thorns in Colorado. So I kind of had to be careful about that when I went off the road and to sleep. But sometimes I would just go off and there'd be like a cool forest. And France, it seemed to me, was a lot less populated than England. I didn't have as much trouble. I'd have more opportunity to ride through forests and and then then I went into the Pyrenees, and so that's, I guess, my Spanish story.